Hi everyone, this is day 8 of reading every single day for however long, a year and longer, so yeah, to improve my speaking abilities. I am going to reread An Actor's Handbook by Konstantin Stanislavski. Here we go. Okay. Accentuation. Accent is a pointing finger. It singles out the key word, the high point of the subtext. Oh, I did not set the alarm. I'm so sorry. Here we go. 30 minutes starting now. Accent is a pointing finger. It singles out the key word, the high point of the subtext. You know how the third dimension is used to produce depth in a picture? We have as many planes of speech which create perspective in a phrase. The most important word stands out most vividly defined in the very foreground of the sound plane. Less important words create a series of deeper planes. The, the essential point is not so much the volume as the quality of the accent. Accent can be combined with intonation. The latter with a color, a word with varied shades of feelings, caressing, malicious, ironical, a touch of scorn, respect, and so on. Coordination is to establish an harmonious integration of degrees of accentuation, volume, for the purpose of setting forth certain words. Another method of emphasis for key phrasing is to change the tempo and rhythm. Action. On the stage, you must always be enacting something. Action. Motion is the basis of the art. Of the actor, even external mobility does not imply passiveness. You may sit without motion at the same time be in full action. Frequently, physical immobility is the direct result of inner intensity. So I will put it like this. On the stage, it is necessary to act, either outwardly or inwardly. Everything that happens on the stage has a definite purpose. All action in theater must have an inner justification, be logical, coherent, and real. And a final result, we have a truly productive activity. Physical actions. An example. With what is Lady Macbeth occupied at the culminating point of her tragedy? The simple physical act of washing a pot of blood off her hand. In real life also many of great moments of emotion are signalized by some ordinary small natural movement. A small physical act acquires an enormous inner meaning. The great inner struggle seeks an outlet in such an external act. The significance of physical acts in highly tragic or dramatic moments is that the simpler they are, the easier it is to grasp them, the easier it is to allow them to lead you to the true objective. By approaching emotion this way, you avoid all forcing, and your result in natural, intuitive, and complete. There are no physical actions divorced from some desire, some effort in some direction, some objective. Without one's feeling inwardly a justification for them, there is no imagined situation that does not contain some degree of action of thought. There should be no physical action created without faith in their reality, consequently a sense of truthfulness. All this bear witness to the close bond between physical action and the so-called elements of inner creative state. Actions create the physical life of a role. The creation of the physical life is half the work of a role because, like us, a role has two natures, physical and spiritual. To permeate external physical actions with inner essentials, the spiritual life of a part, you must have appropriate material. This you find in the play and in your role, because a role, more than action in life, must bring together the two lives, of external and internal action, and mutual effort to achieve a given purpose. The spirit cannot but respond to the actions of the body, provided, of course, that these are genuine, have a purpose, and are productive. Thanks to this approach, a part acquires inner content. External action acquires inner meaning and warmth from inner feeling, and the latter finds its expression in physical terms. To sum up, the point of physical action lies in themselves and such, but in what they evoke conditions, proposed circumstances, feelings. The fact that the hero of a play kills himself is not so important as the inner reason for a suicide. If that does not appear or is lacking in interest, his death as such will pass without leaving any impression. There is an unbreakable bond between the action on the stage and the thing which precipitated it. In other words, there is a complete union between the physical and spiritual being of a role. That is what we make of our psychotechnique. Pattern of physical actions. Write down the list of physical actions you would undertake if you found yourself in the situation of your imaginary character. Do the same work with the textual role. Write down the list of actions with your character undertakes in accordance with the plot of the play. If the work of the playwright is drawn from the living source of human nature and human experience and feelings, there will be coincidence at many points between the two lists, especially in all the basic places. To feel yourself even partly in a role, and your role even partly in you, is the initial step of the merging with and living your part. People who do not understand the line of the play, physical being in a role, when you explain to them that a series of simple, physical, realistic actions have the capacity to engender the life of a human spirit in a role. The point does not lie in these small, realistic actions, but in the whole creative sequence which is put into effect, thanks to the impulse given by these physical actions. Actor as a master of his true art. It takes a great artist to convey feelings and passions, an actor of great power and technique. Without this last, an actor is incapable of transmitting the universal hopes and tribulations of man. Lack of understanding and education stamps our art as immature. Without a complete and profound mastery of his art, an actor cannot carry over to the spectator either the idea, theme, or living content of any play. An actor grows as long as he works. Over a period of years of study, an actor learns to follow a right course of his own, and having learned to do his work properly, he becomes a master of his art. Actor as a true artist. A real artist must lead a full, interesting, varied, and exciting life. He should not only know what is going on in the big cities, but in the provincial towns, faraway villages, factories, and the big cultural centers of the world as well. He should study the life and psychology of the people who surround him, of various other parts of the population, both at home and abroad. We need a broad point of view to act the plays of our times of many people. To reach the pinnacle of fame, an actor has to have more than an artistic talents. He must be an ideal human being, capable of reaching the high points of epoch. The value of grasping the value of culture and the feelings of people, reflecting the spiritual cravings of his contemporaries. Actor in his role. Closeness to your part we call preparation of yourself in the part and the part of it in you. Suppose you go through the play, find the right actions, and accustom yourself to executing them start to finish. You will then have established the physical life of a part. You must remember that the actions are based on inner feelings inside of you, parallel to the line of physical actions. You have an unbroken line of emotions verging on your subconscious. Moreover, you can speak for your character in your own person. Bring yourself to the point of taking hold of a new role concretely, as if it were your own life. When you sense that real kinship to your part, you newly created being will become soul of your soul, flesh of your flesh. Actor in opera. The objective of the director of an opera is to sift out the action inherent to the musical picture and restate this composition of sound in terms of dramatic, that was, say, the visual. In other words, the action should be determined to a far greater degree by physical score than merely by the next. The objective of the director is to explain exactly what it is that the composer wished to say when he wrote each phrase of a score, and what dramatic action he had in mind, even though his last may have been subconsciously in his mind. I believe there is no basis for dividing operas into operas for singing and musical dramas. For every opera is a musical drama. The chief exponent of the action is an opera is the singing actor, not the conductor, who often misses the point of dramatic action. The most necessary item of equipment for an operatic artist is, beyond all doubt, a well-placed voice which enables him to sing both vowels and consonants. The consonants are the most important because they are what carry through the volume of the orchestral accompaniment. The famous singer Battistoni avowed the volume of his voice to his ability to reinforce his tone through consonants. Tamagno was a dramatic and magnificent Othello in opera because he studied his role with the great tragic actor Salvini, and his musical mentor was Verdi himself. Another master of diction was Chalapin, Because he had an intuitive genius, he was able to find the right expression and achieved by this means an unparalleled effect. The production notes of Richard Wagner contain, among other things, the secret producing an opera. The secret of producing an opera. You can bring Wagnerian heroes to life and make them human beings out of them, and you can wean them from everything operatic, and plan their actions in consonance with the inner meaning of the music and not the external effects. In opera, I take my point of departure from the music. I try to discover what it is that promoted the composer to write his work. Then I try to reproduce this in an action of the singers. If the orchestra plays a prelude, introducing a scene before the action begins, we are not content to have the orchestra simply play this. We put it into scenic terms, in the sense of actions, words, phrases. Thus we often use action to illustrate the other instruments which lend color to the orchestra. If an instrument gives the theme of death, the singer will feel the corresponding emotions. He must not disregard these preludes and use the time to clear his throat and prepare his entrance. He must already be a part of the unbroken pattern of the unfolding life of a human spirit in his part in the play. The bond with the music must be so close that the action is played in the same rhythm as the music, but this should not be rhythm for the sake of rhythm. I would like this union of rhythm, of action, and music to be imperceptible. Since I look upon opera as the collective creation of several arts, the words, the text, diction must be as well worked out as possible on the part of the singer. The public must understand everything that is transpiring on the stage. I even wish to have every word of the ensemble and chorus singing made intelligible. Chalapin, and the great criterion in opera, Chalapins cannot be made, but in the method of Chalapin should be taught because artists of this caliber come once in a century. The age of the actor has arrived. He is the top person in the theater. In opera, need the need is not only for a good singer but also a good actor. There must be a matching of the dramatic art with the vocal musical art. Actor in the films. An actor in the talking films is obliged to be incomparable, more skillful and technically expert than the actor on the stage. If the requirements of true art rather than routine accomplishment are to be obliged to him, film actors need real theater training. They should be bred on a repertoire of the world geniuses like Shakespeare, Griborodov, Gogol, Chekhov, and ordinary and not on ordinary movie scripts. Film actors are often called upon to play the last sequences in a picture and then the first. They have to die and be born later on, and all this is usually improvised. They rehearse death and then rebirth. Actor in the theater. In our theater, which had its genesis in Shakespearean traditions, the first place has always been assigned to the actor. For him we did everything that lay in our power. The theater exists above all for the actor, and with him it cannot exist at all. The only king and ruler of the stage is talented actor. The main difference between the art of an actor and all other arts is every other non-performing artist may create whenever he is in a mood of inspiration, but the artist of the stage must be the master of his own inspiration and must know how to call it forth at the hour announced on the posters of the theater. This is the chief secret of our art. Ooh. Actors use their own feelings. Must we use our own same old feelings? Our own same old feelings? In every kind of role, from Hamlet to Sugar and the Bluebird? What else can you do? Do you expect an actor to invent all sorts of new sensations or even a new soul for every part he plays? How many souls would he be obliged to house? Can he tear out his soul and replace it by one he has rented to be more suitable in a certain part? Where can he get one? You can borrow things of all sorts, but you cannot take feelings away from another person. My feelings are inalienably mine, and yours belong to you in the same way. You can understand a part, sympathize with the person portrayed, and put yourself in this place so that you will act as he would. That will arouse feelings in the actor that are analogous to those arouse feelings in the actor that are analogous to those required for the part. Those feelings will belong not in the person created by the author of the play, but to the actor himself. When a real artist is speaking the Hamlet soliloquy, to be or not to be, he puts into the lines much of his own conception of life. For him, it is necessary that the spectators feel his inner relationship to what he is saying. The musical scale has only 7 notes, the sun spectrum only 7 primary colors, yet the combinations of those notes in music and those colors in painting are not to be numbered. The same must be said for our fundamental emotions. Adaptation. Adaptation means both the inner and outer human means that the people in adjusting themselves to one another in a variety of relationships and also in an aid in affecting an object, person. Adaptations are made consciously and unconsciously. The most powerful, vivid, and convincing ones are the products of nature, are almost wholly of subconscious origin. Each actor has his own special attributes. They spring from varied sources. Each change of circumstance, setting, place of action, time brings a corresponding adjustment. All types of communication require adjustment peculiar to each. If people in ordinary life need and make use of large variety of adaptations, actors need a correspondingly greater number because we must be constantly in contact with another and therefore incessantly adjusting ourselves. The quality of adjustment plays a great part. Vividness, colorfulness, boldness, delicacy, shadings, exquisiteness, taste. In the process of using adaptations, there are 2 moments. First, the selection of an adjustment, and second, its execution, which is largely subconscious. Such adaptations I call semi-conscious. Our subconscious has its own logic. Since we find subconscious adaptations so necessary in our art, we find the greatest artists use them. However, even these exceptionally people cannot produce them at any given time. They come only in moments of inspiration. Immature attitude. The worst enemy of progress is prejudice. It holds back progress, blocks the way to it. In our art, one such example of prejudice is the opinion which defends the amateurish attitude of an actor towards his work. There can be no art without virtuosity, without practice, without technique and the greater talent, the more they are needed. Amateurs reject technique not because of the worst enemy of progress is virtue without practice, without technique, and the greater of the talent. The more they are needed, amateurs reject talent, not because of conscious convictions, but out of unbridled laziness. Indeed, among professionals, actors, there are many who have never changed their amateurish attitude towards acting. Analysis. What does analysis consist of? Its purpose is to search out creative stimuli to attract, excite the actor, lacking which there can be no identification with a part. The purpose of analysis is the emotional deepening of the soul of a part. Analysis studies the external circumstances and events in the life of a human spirit in the part. It searches in the actor's own soul for emotions common to the role in himself, for sensations, experiences, for any elements promoting ties between him and his part, and seeks out any spiritual or other material germane to creativeness. Analysis dissects, discovers, examines, studies, weighs, recognizes, rejects, confirms. It uncovers the basis, direction, and thought of a play and part, the super-objective and the through line of action. This is the material it feeds to imagination, feelings, thoughts, and will. Analysis is not solely an intellectual process. Many other elements enter into it, all the capacities and qualities of an actor's nature. Analysis is a means of coming to know, that is, to feel a play, so that of the process of analysis must one use mind with the utmost caution. Take a firmer hold of physical actions. They are the key to freedom. For physical nature, they will have to protect your feelings from all force. As you are drawn to physical actions, you are drawn away from the life of your subconscious, in that you render it free to act and induce it to work creatively. This act of nature in its subconscious is so subtle and profound that the person who is doing the creating is unaware of it. My method draws into action by normal and natural means the subtlest creative forces creative forces of nature. This naturally induced self-analysis is what I wish to stress, absorbed by immediate physical actions. We do not think about, nor are we aware of, the complex inner process of analysis which naturally and imperceptibly goes on inside of us. We have many ways of learning through the analysis of a play and its role. We can retell the content of the play, make lists of facts and events, given circumstances proposed by the author. We can divide a play up into pieces, dissect it, and divide it into layers, think up questions and provide the answers, organize general discussions, arguments, and debates, weigh and estimate all facts, find names for units and objectives. All these differing practical methods are part of a single process of analysis, or coming to know the play in your parts. Search for creative stimuli that will provide ever new impulses of excitement, ever new bits of live material for the spirit of a role. Aphorism in Pushkin. The great Russian poet Pushkin wrote about dramatists as follows: sincerity of emotions, feelings that seem true in given circumstances. That is what we ask of a dramatist. I add that it is exactly what we ask of an actor. The work of an actor is not to create feelings, but only to produce the given circumstances in which true feelings will spontaneously be engendered. Feelings that seem true refer to not actual feelings, but something nearly akin to them, to emotions reproduced indirectly under the prompting of true inner feelings. Appraising the facts of a play. The inner life of the characters is concealed in the outer circumstances of their life, therefore in the facts of the play. The significance of the appraisal of facts lies in its forcing actors to come in contact mentally with each other, making them take action, struggle, overcome, or give in to fate or other people. It uncovers their aims, their personal lives, the mutual attitudes of the actor himself as a living organism in a role. With other characters in a play, it clarifies the inner life of a play. To appraise the facts, it finds the key to the riddle of the inner life of a character which lies under the text of the play. Art of the actor and art of the director. The actor's creative process starts when he becomes immersed in the play. He should first of all, independently or with the aid of his director, discover the fundamental motive of the play to be produced, the kernel. This basic line of action through all the episodes we call the through line of action. The interpretation of a drama and the character of its presentation and physical form of the stage is always and inevitably to some degree subjective, colored by both the personal and national traits of the director and the actors. Having arrived at the kernel which determines the through line of action of the play, all participants in the future production will be drawn together by its creative work. Each one, to the extent of capacities, will try to realize in terms of acting that the same artistic goal which can the playwright set himself is his medium. As for the outer form of production, the stage sets, the props, etc., all that of the value only to the extent that it promotes expressiveness of dramatic action, the art of the actor, and it should under no circumstances whatsoever draw the public because of any independent artistic quality, something which great artists among our scene designers have wished to do right up to the present time. Stage sets, as well as incidental music, are only auxiliary, supporting factors in theater art, and it is the duty of the director to draw from them only what is necessary to illuminate the drama being unfolded before the public, and to see that they remain subservient to what the actors are called upon to do. Artistic truth, natural beauty. Truth on the stage is not the small external truth, which leads to naturalism. It is what you can sincerely believe in. Even as untruth must become a truth in the eyes of actor and the spectator in order to be artistic, the secret of art is that it converts a fiction into a beautiful artistic truth. From the moment when the actor and the spectator come to doubt the reality of the actor's life in the play, truth vanishes, and with it emotion and art. They are replaced by pretense, theatrical falseness, imitation, routine acting. Nature and truth are indivisible. Natural beauty is the truth friend of our being. Beauty cannot be fabricated. It exists in nature all around in each and one of us. There is no greater beauty in the world than nature itself. One must know how to look at and see beauty. One must learn how to carry beauty from the life and nature on the stage, without crashing or mangling it. Attention. Concentration. Creativeness is the first of all complete concentration of inner of the entire nature of the actor. One of the performances given by a visiting star, I felt the presence of a creative mood of his play, the freedom of his muscles in conjunction with a great general concentration. His attention was on the stage and the stage alone. An actor must have a point of attention, and this must not be in the auditorium. The more attractive the object, the more it will concentrate the attention. In real life, there are always objects that fix our attention, but conditions in the theater are different and interfere with an actor's living normally. That an effort in fixation becomes necessary to learn anew to look at things on the stage and to see them. Intensive observation of an object naturally arouses a desire to do something with it. To do something with it, in turn, intensifies your observation of it. This mutual interaction establishes a strong contact with the object of your attention. In watching the acting of great artists, their creative inspiration is always bound up with their concentration of attention. When an actor's attention is not turned towards the spectators, he acquires a special hold on them, forcing them to participate actively in his artistic life. The actor who has the trained habit can limit his attention within a circle of attention. He can concentrate on whatever enters that circle, and with only half an ear can listen to what transpires outside of it. He can even narrow the circle to produce a state we may call public solitude. This circle of attention is usually fixable. It can be enlarged or shrunk by the actor in accordance with whatever must be included for the purposes of the stage action. Inside the limits of the circle, there is an immediate and central object of attention, creativeness on the stage, whether during the preparation of a part or during its repeated performance, demands complete concentration of all the actor's physical and inner nature, the participation of all his physical and inner faculties. Concentrated sensory attention. To grasp your object firmly when you are acting, you need another type of attention, which causes an emotional reaction. You must have something which will interest you in an object of your attention, and serve to set in motion your whole creative apparatus. It is, of course, not necessary to endow every object with your imaginary life, but you should be sensitive to its influence on you. Imagined circumstances can transform the object itself and heighten the reaction of your emotions to it. You must learn to transfigure an object from something which is coldly reasoned or intellectual in quality into something which is warmly felt. We actors have come to call this sensory attention. It is particularly valuable in the creative work of preparing the life of a human spirit in a role. Imaginary objects of attention. Inner attention centers on things we see, hear, and touch and feel in imaginary circumstances. We see such images with inner vision. The same is true of our sense of hearing, smell, touch, and taste. This abstract life contributes to an unending source of material of our inner concentration of attention. But imaginary objects demand an even far more disciplined power of attention. Use the exercises developed for your imagination, as they are equally effective for concentrating attention. Physical attention. Your physical attention has been drawn to the movement of energy along a network of muscles. This same kind of attention should be fixed on ferreting out points of pressure in the process of relaxing our muscles. What is a muscular pressure or spasm what is a muscular pressure or spasm except moving energy that is blocked? It is important that your attention move in constant company with the current of energy, because this helps create an unbroken line which is so essential in our art. Concentrated attention and creative material. At the bottom of every process of obtaining creative material is emotion, feeling. However, it does not replace an immense amount of work on the part of an intellect. After you have learned how to observe life around you, you draw on it for your work and will return to the living emotional material of which your main creativeness is based. impressions from direct personal intercourse with other human beings. Many invisible spiritual experiences are reflected in our own facial expression in our eyes, voice, speech, gestures. But even so, it is not an easy thing to sense another's inmost being, because people do not often open the doors of their souls. When the inner world of someone becomes clear to you through his acts, thoughts, impulses, follow his actions closely and study the conditions in which he finds himself. We are dealing with the most delicate type of concentration of attention with the powers of observation which are subconscious to their origin. As you progress, you will learn more and more ways in which to stimulate your subconscious selves and to draw them into your creative process. But it must be admitted that we cannot reduce the study of the inner life of other human beings to a scientific study. Do not look with a cold analytical eye or carry a pencil in your hand. Do not be a cold observer of another's life, but let your study raise your own creative temperature. After prolonged penetrating observation and study, an actor acquires excellent creative material. Oh, looks like 30 minutes is up. Thank you for watching. See you day 9.